Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Speedroid deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because I literally just pulled Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon as a ghost rare, and I figured what better time to actually do an update of this deck than right after pulling this awesome thing out of Ghost from the Past. Which you guys haven't seen that video, you definitely should go check out my Ghost from the Past opening where I actually pulled this card. The reaction, I will say, was priceless. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting each requested deck profile every single month through a patron along with test hands. And without further ado guys, let's get straight on into this and handle that ghost rare with care. So, we're going to start off with a single copy of Speedroid Terratop. Terratop is really good as a 1-of because it is at 1. And this card can special summon itself to your side of the field if you control no monsters. And when this card is special summoned, you get to add a Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand. If it's normal or special summon, it doesn't matter if it's normal or special summon, you just get the Speedroid at any time. I really hope that this card actually goes back to 2 or 3 on the next ban list. I feel like it probably will because of the way that it's looking with the Duelist of the Whirlwind. I really feel like this card will probably go back to at least 2 on the next ban list, which would be really nice. We then play 3 copies of Tekatomborg. Tekatomborg is probably my favorite of all of them because if you control a wind monster, you just instantly special summon this card from your hand. And it also has the ability that you can contribute this card to special summon 1 Speedroid tuner monster from your deck. And also you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for wind monsters. You only special summon this card once per turn. This card is really, really good in this deck to be able to just instantly special summon a wind monster. It's level 3 to help you synchro climb into other plays. We then play 3 copies of Marble Machine. Marble Machine is nice too because when this card is normal summon, you get to activate this effect to add a Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand, and also you cannot special summon monsters your rest turn except for wind monsters, which is not that big of a deal because the vast majority of stuff we're playing in this deck anyways is wind. It also has a pendulum effect that once per turn, when your defense position monster is targeted for an attack, you can change it to face up attack position and also cannot be destroyed by battle, which you're never really going to put this card in your pendulum zone anyways. You're just going to normal summon it to get the surge. We then play 3 copies of Din Din Dakaduk. Din Din Dakaduk is really good because you can banish it from the graveyard, special summon a Speedroid tuner monster in your hand or graveyard except another copy of itself, and you only use the effect of this card once per turn. We then play 3 copies of Speedroid Car Turbo. Car Turbo is nice. I like Car Turbo a lot in this deck because if you control a wind monster, then you special summon this card from your hand instantly, and you can only activate the effect of this card once per turn, and you can only use the wind monsters for the rest turn as well. You manage this card, and then you get to add 1 Speedroid monster from your graveyard to be able to have all wind monsters you currently control gain 800 attack, which is really good. Basically, you banish this and another wind monster, and then they all gain 800, which can add up and stack up a lot very, very quickly. So this card is really, really good to turbocharge all of your plays. We then play 3 copies of Red-Eye Dice. Red-Eye Dice is fantastic in this deck. This card was actually the reason I picked the whole deck up, was because I really love the artwork of this card. But basically what it does is when it's normal or special summon, you target 1 Speedroid monster you control and change its level between 1 and 6. You get to pick the level, which is really nice to help you for synchro plays. And also it becomes that level until the end of the turn, which is really nice because you might have a play that you see later on that you want to make a monster a level, for example, between 1 and 6. We then play 2 copies of Double Yo-Yo. Double Yo-Yo is a card that I actually consider cutting down to 1 in this deck, but it's still to me a pretty good 2-of until we get the new support. But when this card is normal summon, you target a level 3 or lower Speedroid monster in your graveyard and instantly special summon it to your field, which is basically like a walking Monster Reborn, which is pretty nice to help you get into a synchro play, because if you bring back something, for example, like a Red-Eye Dice, its effect will go off to be able to change the level of a Speedroid monster in your field to basically let you go for any synchro monster you particularly want to in the extra deck. We did play a single copy of Horse Stilts. Horse Stilts is when it's normal summon, you can special summon 1 level 4 lower Speedroid monster from your hand, which a lot of these monsters do on their own anyways, but I like to combo this card with my Din Din Dakaduk, because basically you can normal summon this card to your side of the field to be able to special summon that monster, and then you synchro for a 7, which can help you climb into a lot of different plays. And also during the main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can manage this card from the grave to send a wind monster from your deck to the graveyard, which helps you out with even more plays because you can send another another Duke to your graveyard to be able to banish it to special summon another Speedroid monster, which is pretty nice. We then play a single copy of Rubber Band. Rubber Band Plane is pretty good because if this card is special summoned to your field, except during the damage step, you can special summon, or excuse me, if a monster is special summoned to your field, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand, and also you cannot special summon monster the rest of the turn, except for wind monsters, which is not that big of a deal because the majority of the time we're going to be special summoning wind anyways. And also, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, and it loses 600 attack until the end phase, which is pretty good to be able to basically have a 2400 beat stick that can special summon itself to your side of the field, because it is 18, but with the 6, it pretty much becomes 24, because it's still pretty good to be able to get that on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Win the Wind Channeler. Win the Wind Channeler basically can discard itself from your hand and another wind monster to add 1 wind monster with 1500 less attack or 1500 less defense from your deck to your hand, which is a lot of your monsters to be able to search out of the deck, which is a fantastic card in any wind deck. We then play 3 of a new card that I threw into this deck, which is 3 copies of Red-Haired Hasty Horse. Red-Haired Hasty Horse is really good because it can special summon itself to your side of the field. That if there is a card with, or if there's a column with no cards in it, you can special summon this card to that column in attack position. And basically it's a level 5 monster that can instantly special summon itself to your side of the field that's also wind. So it's very, very easy to combo with this card. We then play a single copy of Mecha Phantom Beast Warbleran. Warbleran is just basically here for the Mecha Phantom Beast Link monster because you can special summon it to your side of the field by attributing 2 other monsters from the deck, which can help you get into some really nasty plays, which I really like playing this card as a one of. In the deck, it's a level 1 tuner, which the deck desperately needs, and so playing this card as a one of is just kind of necessary. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom to round out the monsters. The Ash Blossoms are basically just here to stop your opponent from doing anything, which is really nice while you're trying to synchro climb into your monsters. So that's it for the monsters, guys. I know it's a lot of monsters, but Speedroids always play a lot of monsters anyways. It is like I think it's like 30 monsters or something like that. This deck plays a lot of monsters. So getting into the spells, guys, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is basically just here to get the exact synchro monster you need out of the graveyard or combo piece you need out of the graveyard as quickly as you can. A single copy of Foolish Burial because some of your monsters like Din Din Duke can go off in the graveyard by banishing them. A copy of Call by the Grave to stop your opponent's hand traps because stopping hand traps is relatively important. 2 copies of Pot of Avarice. Pot of Avarice is pretty good in this deck because you can put 5 of your monsters back in the deck to essentially put to draw 2. So basically you're putting back all your different combo pieces to draw 2 cards. That sounds like a pretty good trade-off to me. We play double Speed Lift. Speed Lift is just a good 2-of to me because if you control exactly 1 tuner and no other monsters, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Speedroid monster from the deck, and neither player can activate cards or effects in response to the special summon of that monster. So basically it's a speed spell 4, special summoning a level 4 or lower Speedroid monster from the deck, which is good, but a lot of times you're already set up in your hand, so this card is just there just in case you need it. And then we play 3 copies of Speed Recovery, which Speed Recovery is my favorite spell in the entire deck because it lets you target a Speedroid monster in the graveyard and instantly special summon it back to your side of the field. So it's basically Monster Reborn, and then during your main phase of turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from the graveyard and then target a Speedroid monster in the grave and add it back to your hand, which is just an added bonus just to get you an additional monster out of the grave to your hand. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies, and I just have the 1 Ghost Rare, but we're going to be playing 2 copies of our Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. So Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon is the boss of the entire deck. Crystal Wing is fantastic in this deck, and basically what it does is once per turn, when another monster effect is activated, you can quick effect negate the activation if you destroy that card, and if you do that, this card gains attack equal to destroy monster's original attack until the end of the turn. And this card battles an opponent's monster that's level 5 or higher. During damage calculation, this card gains attack equal to the current attack of the opponent's monster it's battling during damage calculation only. So this card can get really big. It's a walking Omni Negate, so it's fantastic as a 2-of. I don't think you need 3 with all the other cards that you're playing in the deck, but there is some cards in here that you can drop if you want to play a 3rd copy of Crystal Wing. We then play a single copy of Kite Drake. Kite Drake is pretty good too because Kite Drake is really interesting. It does take a wind machine monster, which we have plenty of those in the deck to synchro summon into. And if this card is synchro summoned, then you can activate one of these effects to destroy all other cards on the field or negate the effects of all face-up cards your partner currently controls. And if this card in your possession is just sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, then you can add 1 Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand. There's literally no downside to this card. This card is one of the most broken cards in the extra deck, and I absolutely love playing it. We then play a single copy of Grabber / Harpy Lady, which is the card that I was going to mention, you guys. If you want to drop this card to be able to play an additional Crystal Wing, you can, but I'd never find myself going into the third Crystal Wing, which is why I played this card instead. What it basically does is if you synchro summon to this card and a spell is activated, then you can target a monster on the field. If Spell Trap is activated, you target a monster your opponent controls and bounce it to the hand, which is why I like this card as a one-of, because it can out cards that can't be destroyed but can still be targeted, which is why I like playing it as a one-of. We then play a single copy of Wind Pegasus. Wind Pegasus is arguably the best level 7 to go into in this deck, because it can banish itself from the graveyard to target an opponent's monster and shuffle it into the deck, which is pretty good to be able to step into this and then step into Crystal Wing, because basically it's going to give you that free play of bouncing something, and then the Crystal Wing can negate something, which is basically a 2-card for 2-card, which is nice. You play a single copy of Clear Wing. I like 1 Clear Wing, because sometimes you'll step into the Clear Wing and you'll just stop depending on the deck that you're playing against. This card is still extremely powerful, and I think a lot of people overlook this card, but once per turn during either player's turn when a level 5 or higher monster activates its effect on the field, you can negate the activation, and if you destroy it. And then once per turn during either player's turn when a monster effect is activated that targets exactly one level 5 or higher monster on the field, then no other cards, you can negate the activation to destroy that card. And if this card is destroyed by an opponent's card, if this card destroys a monster, this card gains attack equal to destroy monsters with attack until the end phase, which is pretty good. This card's really good against Eldritch in my opinion, and I just really like playing this card as a one-of. We then play a single copy of Stardust Charge Warrior. It's a good stepping stone in this deck to be able to step into another play. It lets you draw a card on Synchro Summon, which is really good. A single copy of the level 5 Speedroid monster. This card is really Hagota. This is really good because during either player's turn, you can tribute this card to increase the level of all monsters you currently control by 1, which is pretty good as well. And if this card is in your graveyard and you control a Speedroid tuner, you can instantly special on this card, but you can't special anything except for wind monsters the turn you activate this effect, which is not that big of a deal because the majority of the time you're only special summoning wind anyways. You play a single copy of the High Speedroid Chambara because it can attack twice, and it's just a really fantastic card in this deck because it gains 200 attack when it attacks, and also if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one other banished Speedroid card and add it back to your hand. Play a single copy of the Old Entity. The Old Entity, Haster. I really like playing Haster in this deck because you can Synchro Summon with this card, and if this card is sent from the Monster Zone to the graveyard, if you use it basically as a Synchro material, then you get to target one face-up monster opponent controls and equip this card to it, and then you take control of that monster, but that monster can attack or activate its effects, which is pretty good if you just can take control of it as well, because if this card leaves the field while it's equipped to an opponent's monster, you take control of that card as well, which is pretty good. It's a negation, and it also can take something away from your opponent, which is really nice, and it's a 2300 beat stick. We then play a single copy of the Virtual World QB. Virtual World QB to me is a one-of in this deck because any card sent from the field to the graveyard is banished instead, which is just a great card to end your combos with, just to be able to negate stuff and be able to banish stuff from the graveyard, or not negate, but banish stuff from the graveyard. We play 3 copies of High Speedroid Rubber Band. Rubber Band is pretty good too because this card gives you an additional normal summon, because during the main phase, this card resolves, you can normal summon one wind monster, and also you can't special summon from the extra deck for the turn that you activate this effect, except for synchro monsters, and you can banish a wind synchro monster from your extra deck, reveal 2 synchro monsters, or reveal 2 Speedroid monsters with different names from your deck, and those total levels equal the level of the monster, the synchro monster. Your opponent randomly picks one of them and it adds to your hand, and you send the other to the graveyard, which is a fantastic effect in this deck. We then play a single copy of Auroradon because it gives you tokens on your side of the field. Also, you contribute 2 of the tokens to be able to special summon a Mecha Phantom Beast monster from your deck, which is your copy of Warbleran, which then you can synchro with the level 3 token and the Warbleran to summon out your copy of Old Entity. Haster, which is pretty good in the deck, just to be able to get you out that additional play. And then I play a single copy of Totem Bird. Totem Bird's something that I've been teching in the deck. You can drop it for another synchro monster, but I like it as a one-of, because during either player's turn, when a spell or trap is activated, you can detach 2 materials from this card and then negate the activation if you destroy it. It's a really good card to out a lot of spells and traps. To be able to end with this and a Crystal Wing is just phenomenal, because your opponent's not going to be able to activate a spell or trap. The first spell that they activate is going to get negated, and the first monster effect that they're going to activate is going to get negated, and you can basically, if you can summon both of these, you're going to have a really good time hitting a certain choke point against your opponent with both of these cards, which is why I play them each at 1. So That's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to play around with, and definitely give us a like for pulling out the Crystal Wing Ghost Rare. And again, if you guys have not seen the Ghost from the past opening, you definitely should check it out. It was a fantastic video and was a really good time to actually open that box up and actually pull this card directly out of the box. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can come for our notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.